Hey everyone, welcome to Two Car Pros. My name is Ryan and I'm going to show you exactly how to put a double DIN head unit in a 2008 Chevrolet Impala. This also applies to a single DIN unit. That refers to basically the spacing and the size of the radio. Double DIN is very common these days because everyone likes that nice big screen, but if you want a more basic and more affordable model, you're just going to have to put this underneath it in the fit kit and then you'll have a single DIN unit, saving you tons of money. It's not a bad option to go. So with all out of the way, let's jump into it. So next we're going to remove our negative battery terminal right here. This one's been replaced with an aftermarket unit, so it will look very different on your stock unit. Like this one uses a 1/2-inch wrench. I'm sure yours will be metric. But any way you get it off, it does not matter. So just get it off of there like that. And then store it down and in such a way that it can't accidentally touch while we're working. So next we're going to grab some sort of gentle prying implement. They make these out of plastic that'll probably work a lot better, but I don't own that tool. I'll leave a link down below in the description for you. And we're just going to gently sort of jimmy it straight out towards us like this. And be very careful. As these cars age, the plastic becomes more and more brittle. And replacing this would be a total bummer. So just be gentle and take your time. It'll come off like that. And truthfully, you could leave this connected if you really want to and just flip it up like this, but I'm going to disconnect it because I think it'll be easier. And there's just a little safety on the top. There we go. Alright, to get the radio out, we have to take the AC controls out using a 7mm socket or a Phillips head screwdriver. And then you can just take the AC controls out and just let them hang out like that. It's fine. You don't need to unplug them or anything. Now you can remove our radio. And then we can just take the stereo and move it straight towards us. Might have to give it a little bit of a jostle. And we're just going to let it hang out right there for right this second. So on the back side of the radio, we can just depress this safety and wiggle the connectors out of the radio. And then remove the antenna. That's what this is. Those typically just pull straight out. And then we can just take the head unit out. So the next thing I'm going to go over is the manuals. This manual right here on the right side of your screen is for the head unit itself. Link down below in the description. And every single head unit new comes with one of these. It may not look exactly like this, but it will come with a wiring diagram telling you what wire does what. That's useful. But we also need one of these, which is coming from this company, Sochi, something like that. I've used them before, pretty good. Also comes with a manual, and you can see, you flip open, and boom, it tells you which wire does what. Now, why is that important? Well, this one from Sochi, I think that's how you pronounce that, actually just interfaces right with the car. You plug it in, boom, you're done. But then you're left with this pigtail. This pigtail interfaces with this pigtail that interfaces with your head unit. So you need to match these wires to these wires using either a soldering iron and some heat shrink, or some of these beauties. These are quick connectors, solderless connections that actually have heat shrink built right into them. Super handy. The kit I have linked down below in the description even came with some solderless connections. These are fine, they work just fine, but these are a little bit better because they keep moisture out. So if you plan on keeping this car for a long time, I would advise the upgrade. And of course, the link is down below in the description with the correct crimper pliers. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do one of these, and I promise you the process is exactly the same for literally all the other ones. Just match up the words to the correct wiring. However, the colors can be different. Right here, yellow, 12-volt constant power from the battery. It's yellow on my connector here. All right, connector. And it happens to be yellow on this one, but this could be any color. Honestly, it's whatever Sochi picked to be that color, and you can find that information right here. We can look right here and go, oh, yep, 12-volt battery right there, yellow. A lot of the times these match up. Sometimes they're in industry standards, sometimes they're not. Sometimes they can be different. So we just solder these together or use our little red connectors, and that'll be done. So put that in our little crimpers. These are cool because they're self-limiting. I always have the problem of overdoing it. There we go, make sure it's on there, can't pull it off. Boop, 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 boop. Perfect. And I've noticed that these wires are actually a little on the thin side, so what I like to do is just wind it up and fold it over on itself. That will give it a nice thickness, so that way when you put it into the starless connection, it'll actually stay instead of just pull out, being very annoying. There we go, it's perfect. Make sure it's fully in its home, and then just crimp away. Once you've successfully crimped it, give it a little tugs, make sure it doesn't just come right out. This seems good. And then you can use a heat gun, but I find a lighter is much more handy to have. This is kind of the parlor trick for these connections, is you just give them a little heat until they shrink on down. And there you go, check that out. There's a connection that is going to be waterproof till the end of time. That is very, very good. So just do that exact process for the rest of these. I'm gonna do those off camera or else this video would be very long. So here's my harness all done. It just happened to be that on the wiring kit that I'm using, plus the head unit I'm using, all of the color coordination was actually correct, which is super cool. It's some sort of standard I saw in the manual, but that's not always the case, especially on these more affordable units. You really need to look out for that kind of thing and just match the words on one side of the words on the other. Also, I want to point out that this is the A harness for Impalas. Other GM vehicles around this time use the B harness that comes in that kit that I have linked down below in the description. There's also one we're not using because we don't have that feature on this car. And then also, you might be wondering about this. So all this does is detect if the brake is on, the handbrake is on, so technically the car thinks it's in park. That way you can do adjustments and things while the parking brake is not on. Don't have to do it that way. If you want to do it the quote-unquote correct way, you would run this wire to the parking brake itself, but I have it just running to the ground, so the radio always thinks a car's parking brake is on. This will let you do everything whenever, however you like. I'm not telling you to do that, that's just something you can do. One more quick thing about wiring is because these GM vehicles use a CAN bus system to use the door chimes or power on the radio to tell the radio to power up, you need this little box, and this box is included in that kit I linked down below, which makes it super cool and super applicable. And I've already tested this, it works this way, so this is a definitive way how to do it with this head unit that I'm going to link down below in the description. So key 1 goes to steering wheel control 1. Even though our vehicle does not have steering wheel controls, it still has a CAN bus system. Key 2 goes to steering wheel control 2, and this ground goes into this ground. So on this little baby sub harness right here in the back of the head unit connects to this, your door chimes return, and you're all good to go. Now in the instructions it said that sometimes head units use one of these and you clip one of these wires, so you need to look into what you have. I'm just showing you for the exact head unit we have, this is what you need, so we can keep going. We need to talk about the actual fit kit itself, and again from that company that I have located down below in the description, and it comes with a bunch of different like ears to put on the actual head unit like cover piece itself, and I'm using this one. This one's labeled 2 and this one's labeled 3, and then just snapped the ears kind of in the back, and then the top of it is this nice flat piece. See how it's a little more rounded on the bottom and a little more flat on the top? That corresponds with the top of the bezel for the actual GM part of the equation. So we just need to know that's top. Great. Here's our actual head unit. Again, link is located down below in the description. It's supposed to have Android Auto, a rear camera, and all that other fancy stuff for an affordable price, which is nice. And then you just want to put it kind of in its home. You want it to be, this is how it's going to look like inside of the car. So we'll put it in like that. These screws actually came with the head unit. To the rear side will be just fine. There you go. And then we can do some final adjustments on here, that way it looks nice in the car and is at the correct depth, because we don't want it to be recessed into this piece or else it'll be really ugly, and we want it to be nice and even. There we go. Awesome, that looks much better. And then just tighten these screws down the rest of the way, don't go crazy. There we go, that much tightness should be just fine. Now we're ready to head back to the car. The next thing we're going to do is worry about running our little microphone that came with our head unit. It's kind of up to you where you want to put these. I think it's going to do best just kind of right here. And I happen to know from working on this car a bunch that this pulls right off. And then we can just kind of feed the wire in that way. just like that. So it's just kind of hanging out right there. I think that's probably as good as you're gonna get. And then just feed the wire this way, all the way to where the radio lives. So now we can take this adapter that comes in that kit that I showed you. It's labeled Crab. And what this does is convert the antenna from this kind of proprietary GM connection into a standard antenna connection, so it'll work in our head unit. And then we're going to take our wiring harness that we wired earlier, and we're just going to plug it into these connections. Don't worry, you can't mix them up. They only go in one way. Okay, one goes there, one goes there, one goes there. Nice. Okay, cool. We can take the connections that actually go to our head unit and plug those in. Pretty simple. They only go in one way, so it's not like you can mix it up. If it's not going in, try it the other way. There we go. Looking snazzy. And then don't forget our antenna, and it just pushes right in like that. And before we put the head unit back, just go ahead and double check that you have everything you need plugged in. This car already had some cameras on it, so I just plugged those directly in. The thing I did actually forget was the microphone connection. That just goes right here. And now the head unit's ready to go back in the car. And then we can start working our head unit back to its home. Look at that, everything lines up. And if it's really snazzy, it should line up with this too. Just like that. Wow, look at that. Looks good. Cool. Now we can replace our fasteners. And so you can move them just a little bit. So you might not want to put all the fasteners in just yet. Because you can move it just that teensy bit, we want to line it up so that way when we put the wooden trim piece back in, everything is clocked right and goes on nice. I'm not putting this on just yet, just want to make sure everything's lined up. So I need to hold the left side up just a touch. There we go. That looks better. And I'm not tightening this down very much. I would just say wrist tight is perfectly fine. They're just little body clips. There we go. And then, don't forget to plug in your passenger airbag light indicator. It just goes straight on. And then put this back on and then just push. Making sure all the little tangs are lined up. Just push it on there. Yeah, all right. Looks great. Then we're going to take our negative battery terminal. We're just going to touch it slightly. Make sure it doesn't freak out on us. We're good. We don't want to cause a spark. Make sure it's fully seated down. Making sure that's nice and tight. Give it a wiggle. All good. Alrighty, with our battery plugged back in by connecting that negative terminal, we can put our key to the second position and see if the radio turns on. The bongs are going off. I put a little Corvette on the intro start screen, and look, it works.
Next gear, because he's not going to accept.
Okay, awesome. And as a side note, this radio is pretty great. It's nice and responsive. If you have a front-facing cam, it'll display that. Pretty cool. And then also this car already had a reversing camera. So you can see, reverse comes up. How neat's that? This is a cool head unit. I like it. So that is how to put a head unit in a 2008 Chevrolet Impala. This isn't impossible. This is something you could totally do at home. You don't even need to jack the car up. This is really, really easy. This is something you could totally do at home on a weekend. And doing this work yourself saves tons of money, and you make sure you're doing it right. And a radio shop's probably gonna charge you $400 to put this radio in. In my opinion, this is not $400 worth of work. This is something you can totally do at home, saving tons of money. This is not bad at all. This is something you can totally do at home. The only curveball is that CAN bus interpreter box that you're gonna have to sort of customize out. But if you buy the exact head unit I've linked down below, you can just copy me exactly and it'll work great. And I have to say this head unit is fairly good and it's not crazy expensive. I really like it. It's probably going in my next personal car, that's for sure.
Thank you so very much for watching. If you found this video helpful or interesting at all, please consider becoming a member by clicking that join button down below. It's a direct way to help my channel out. Barring that, a like, comment, and subscription go a huge way, and I appreciate that as well. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.